Everybody, welcome back to the Roots of Ambition. After 2 long years, we finally came here. We gave you guys a little teaser here and there, but now we're actually starting. Here, Danny and Angel, Roots of Ambition. Glad you guys can make it. Glad you guys are listening. Glad you guys are following. And thank you to everyone new coming in. We appreciate you guys more than you'll ever know. All right. I think today's subject, we're going to talk a little bit about fatherhood and a little bit about more like self-experiences. There was one email that came in to me. It was an email or I think it was on IG. It was on IG. But the dude that, I don't want to put the guy's name out there, but he said, man, like, I always see you, like, you're always upbeat. You're always in a positive vibe, Danny. Like, how do you do that every day? And, in the back of my head, I laugh at it because, like, only if you knew, dude, we all wake up in a funk. We all wake up with troubles. We all wake up with issues. We all have bills. Some of us are married. Some of us have kids. And sometimes some of us, with the experience of discipline and hard work throughout our years, we're able to hide it better than others. And I think that I've come a long way enough where I can hide it to most of the world. But to my wife, she's the only person in the world that can tell me, hey, dude, you need to go to the room, go breathe, get your rest before you come out to the world, right? But my question for Angel and to all of you guys is, when you wake up in a bad funk, bro, right? When you wake up in you're just not 100% today, right? And it happens to all of us. I don't care who you are, whatever your insecurity is, your pride, your ego. We all wake up sometimes like we just don't want to deal with shit, talk to anyone, but we figure out a way to get through the day. How do you approach those days, bro, when you wake up on the wrong side of the bed?
That's a really good question, Danny. And it happens more often than I wish it did.
Yeah.
And I try to listen, first of all. And what I mean listen is, instead of tuning out my brain and then turning the volume up in the world so that I'm not hearing those voices and that are making me feel the way I feel when I wake up in that way, is I try to do the opposite. Let's tune down the world, really listen to why you're feeling that way. I try to kind of ask myself those questions. I communicate with my partner and let her know, like, hey, I'm feeling a certain way, so that she understands that I'm just working through something. And then I do different things. I go for a walk, I exercise. But more important is I start having those conversations inside my head, and I try to look at that situation of how I'm feeling kind of from like a third party, right? Like a neutral position, like, and I listen to, I'm the judge, right? Mm-hmm. I'm listening to both sides of, both lawyers, and I'm like, okay, the bad guy wants this, the good guy wants this, and what is the outcome? And I try to really think about, if I act on those feelings, what are those consequences?
Yeah.
If I, oftentimes when I'm feeling it or I wake up in the bad side of the bed, that means if I let it and if I lean into it, I'm not going to be that pleasant to be around.
Yeah.
I'm going to push my kids away. I'm going to push my wife away. They're not going to want to be around me.
And the people that love you the most.
Right. Yeah. And so, growing up, both you and I come from single moms, and so we didn't have a father figure.
Right.
And, I didn't have a father figure in my life. Temporarily he was there, and when he was there, quite honestly, it wasn't great. And I didn't have a lot of good figures growing up, good mentors and people that I can look up to, even though there was a few. But I did had a lot of men that acted on those bad feelings. And so when I'm having those bad days, without naming names, and there's several, I'll be like, don't be like this person.
Yeah. 100%.
Don't turn into that person.
Yeah.
And
you remember what that person did at that time.
And sometimes it wasn't maybe directed at me.
Right.
It was just in my environment.
Yeah. You witnessed it. You saw it.
but I remember seeing, other kids that maybe that adult was interacted with, and seeing that interaction and just the energy.
Yeah.
And so I really try to just be thankful for what I have, which and where I'm at in my life, and oftentimes that gets you thinking in a
Right.
better way. I try to do things that are positive, so I like to make things. Me and Aaron always call ourselves makers.
Yeah.
Because we like to make stuff.
Yeah.
This podcast is
Beautiful.
me and Aaron, and
Beautiful.
and so I try to occupy myself, and it is not so much because I used to occupy myself to distract,
Okay. Which is good, bro. Which good.
which is good, but
It's like going to the gym.
depending on the level of stress or thing you got going on in your head.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just stress, distracting is good because it kind of gives you a reset. But if you woke up and having a bad day or a bad week or whatever that is, because a more deep issue, you got some trauma stir around.
Yeah.
Sometimes depression just
Yeah.
comes and it's not inside the house, but
Yeah.
it's just knocking a little bit.
It's at the window staring at you.
So in those situations, I find that if you are, if you're just trying to wish it away, it doesn't work out.
No.
It just adds up. I mean, it might
You
work
can't
out.
just sweep it under the
It
rug.
might work out for a week,
Yeah.
and then another week, and a month, and 2 months.
Eventually,
but trust me,
eventually it's going to trip you
eventually
up.
he's gonna check every door, and you're gonna leave a door open,
Yep.
and it's gonna come in. And so I try to actually, so this is what I mean is when I occupy myself, I try to occupy myself with a purpose so that I'm allowing my inner thoughts to really come through.
Yeah.
Right? So there's certain things you can do. For example, like if I'm just listening to music by myself, there's certain music, I have, I like to listen to just chilling music. I actually, and I don't know if it's actually this, but it just happens to be a playlist that kind of gets me there.
Yes. What, some NWA or some shit?
No, it's funny. It's actually, even though I do like that, I like that for when I'm feeling different ways. There's times where I just need to get pumped. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
But I have other playlists that it gets me in a good spot.
Yeah. For sure. Everybody, brother. Everybody.
And it gets me to be able to actually, think and
calm down a little bit.
Calm down. Woodworking is another thing that for me, I kind of disconnect from the act that I'm doing, like the actual woodworking, and I just go in my brain. I'm talking to myself the whole time. So that's what I try to do. And the other thing that I like to do and that I try my best is I try to really think about, you've been in this situation before.
Right.
You felt this way before. This is not the first time you felt this way.
It's not new.
And it was okay. You got out of it. And so I tried to think like, okay, what did I do? How stupid that I felt after I felt better.
Yeah.
That I allow myself to really lean into the bad wolf.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I try to think about. And then the other thing that has helped me grow so much is that, we always, and I say we, I can speak for myself and I for you because I know you, but I would assume that all of the fathers out there are doing this, but we're giving our kids advice, right?
Yeah.
And we're always talking through. So that's the other thing I like to do in my head.
What's crazy though, bro, is one thing I've learned is a lot of men don't give their kids advice, bro.
I know. That's why I pause and I say we all, but I don't know. And if you don't, you should be. You shouldn't be assuming that they know
that they're just learning from what you're doing,
right? Because they are learning what you're doing. Unfortunately, it's not always the good things that they're learning, right?
Yes.
And so they pick up on habits. So. But one of the kind of exercises I like to do with myself is, if this was my 9-year-old acting out, what would I tell it? What would I tell him?
Yeah. If this was my 9-year-old, meaning you.
Meaning me.
Got you.
Right? So he woke up and like
He's
he went
pissed
to school,
off.
he got
Doesn't
angry at
he
school,
hit
and blah blah
somebody
blah.
or something? Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah. What would you tell
what
him?
would I tell him?
That's a good way to do it, dude.
And be like, wait, well, apply that to yourself,
Yeah.
because I always tell my kids and Aaron as well is like, we like to do the feed the good wolf, not the bad wolf.
Yeah.
And so then I tell it to myself, but I say it as I'm saying it to my kid, because when I say it to them, I really do mean what I'm trying to convey to them. But sometimes it's so hard for us to hear it for ourselves.
Damn, bro. Coming soon. But one thing, bro, that there's a clip, what you're talking about right now, Mel Robbins. I know Mel Robbins, one day you're probably gonna hear this. And if you would ever bless us to give us 30 minutes of your time to interview you, but I heard a clip and it resonated. Like, I think I've played it like 30 times, but it would be cool one day to have a screen here to play a clip like that. She said, every adult is an 8-year-old trapped, or is an 8-year-old trapped in an adult body, right? We never really, most of us never really learn how to deal with our emotions, right? Or because the majority of the families that came before us, right, never taught us that. Right. So I'm one of those people, bro. Right. In the last 5 years after my incident, I really started paying attention to my feelings. Where before, if I was mad, fuck everybody. I'm mad. I don't give a shit. You work around me. I don't care. Mm-hmm. Right. And which isn't cool. It ain't cool. Hell no, bro. Right. If I was upset and I was at a store and somebody looked at me the wrong way, I would walk up to that dude and tell him, hey, bro, what the fuck are you looking at? Don't ever look at me like that. Right. And Danny today would have loved to walk up to Danny 5 years ago and slap the shit out of him and say, that's not how we handle things, dude. Yeah. Right. So she said, man, 99% of people, is a small fraction of people who really know how to diagnose their feelings internally. Right. But a lot of people are 8-year-olds trapped in a adult body.
I believe it.
And so you're saying that right now, bro. I can literally understand exactly what she's saying.
I don't think I've listened to that clip, but send it to me.
I'll send it to you, dude.
This is one of the ways I look at it, and you tell me what you think about it. Is not only we're 8-year-olds trapped in an adult body, but also what has society and our bringing has told us, right? Don't cry. You're a man. You're a boy.
Yeah.
Don't feel certain way.
Yes.
I'm angry. Well, don't be angry. Put it away. And so what that does, in the way I see it, not only did we not learn how to deal with our feelings, but instead we learn how to put filters on top.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's so now we have all these layers of things we have to go through to actually get to the bottom of the feeling, because now, I normally would have cried in a situation. Now I don't cry because that's not the right thing to do. But what is that doing to me if really that's how I feel? If you feel like crying, you should just cry.
Right.
But if you don't cry because society or your dad or your mom or whoever told you you're not allowed to feel a certain way, then you have to put a filter in order to, quote unquote, put face out there and smile and think that everybody you really because we've been conditioned to act a certain way, be in a box, when in reality we should have the feelings we have, and we should learn how to live with those feelings and how to
maneuver through them, bro.
Yeah, how to maneuver through them. That's a better way.
So, bro, again, if we had a clip here, there was one with Canelo Alvarez, bro. He was being interviewed by this lady. I don't know where this lady was from, but she brought up something really awesome, bro. She was like, "Hey, you were boxing, you were training, or your son was training, and he got hit, and he started crying,
Right.
right? And like his coach came up to your son and said, no, we don't cry. We don't cry. No. And you interfered and said, no. It's okay to cry. All right, but it's not okay to quit. It's okay to cry. Observe that really quick. Let those tears out. It's okay to feel that way, but it's not okay to quit, right? And like, damn, bro, that resonated with me.
I saw that clip
so much, bro.
That is so deep, and that is really gets to the root of what we're talking, because look at that is,
and that's good. That's coming from Canelo, one of the best fighters in world history, bro.
Right, but and you know, obviously I don't have any experience with fighting, but you know, through listening to you know, we all watch boxing and stuff, and listening to many interviews. What are all the greats tell you? You know, you listen to Tyson, you listen to all the greats.
Yeah.
Where's the fight?
Yeah. Right here.
Right? So,
right here.
So if that's why he's one of the greats, because he understands that, and if he can translate that to his kids, because oftentimes, you know, I relate this to this. I have conversations sometimes with people that have better education than me. We're born here, you know, we're born in a wealthy situation, and then we have to speak in public situations, and they can't do it. It's like, how do you do it? And it's like, dude, English is my second language. I don't have, you know, the education you have. Like, you know, it's just a better of...
You come from a point of survival, bro.
Right, so, but...
We come from a point of survival where we just, when the lights come on, man, we have to perform, bro.
Right.
You know?
But it's
a lot of people don't have that.
A lot of people don't have that, but it has a lot to do also with those filters that we're allowing to put on ourselves.
100%.
And our situation, so like, you know, that specific setting that the world tried to program on us, we didn't allow it, not because we were wise.
Right.
We didn't allow that because that was the only way to survive. So even though we have all these other flaws, that specific thing we were able to push through because that was our survival mechanism that now we use to our advantage.
So you just bring up the avenue I want to go through, brother. So I come from a world where you don't cry. Right. You get hit in the face, there's no crying. You're a young man, right? And it's coming from a female, my mom, like, I don't think she knew any better, but she's coming from her era, right? You know, I don't want my boy to be a punk. I don't want him to cry. So you get hit and you know, the truth is, I got my butt kicked a lot, bro. And I'd come home crying after my butt got kicked, right? Because I didn't have, my older brother was never there. My sister was never there, bro. It was just really by myself. So I wasn't just getting my butt kicked by a boy. I was getting my butt kicked by his cousin, and then his older cousin, then his uncle. Right? Because I had a foul mouth. I was very disrespectful. And a lot of times I look back at it now like, man, you deserve that shit, bro. But the point is, like, a lot of the things that I learned, right? This is where I feel like I contradict some of the things with my own kids, right? Because I come from a different lifestyle, a area of survival, bro, where, bro, like, you're in the jungle. Right. And if you showed sign of weakness, the neighborhood was going to eat you up. You were going to be taken advantage of. Right. And I have to remember sometimes, like, my kids live in Mayberry now, bro. They don't live in the hood. 1, 2, they got me at home. That they know I'm a resource. I'm someone that's going to save them. I'm in their corner. I'm going to do whatever the fuck it takes to look out for them. Right. So sometimes, like, I can give them advice, but sometimes I feel like it's wrong because some of the advice I'm giving them, I'm coming from an area from where I grew up in. Right. The situation I was in. And I feel like sometimes it's not the right kind of advice. Right? I mean, it's still good advice, but it's not the right kind of advice. And sometimes I feel like, fuck, dude, I feel like I'm a hypocrite right now.
But do you adjust that advice as you evolve?
So a little bit, I'm getting better at it now. Right, I'm getting better at certain things I would tell them to handle, right?
But how do you address that? So, like, because I do that sometimes too, right? Or often, because, you know, often the first thing that comes out of my mouth is my survival, right?
Dude.
You know, like,
who said that?
Exactly.
Where they live? Let's go over there right now. You know,
That's the first thing that comes out. And sometimes I also say the wrong things, but I try to often. Once I like realize that there's something better. Really, let's learn from here. Not only do I give him a better advice, but I actually make the point to be like, hey, I know I've been telling you this is the way.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
But I'm wrong, and here's why.
Yeah.
And
that's what I'm working on, bro.
Okay.
That's definitely something, especially with my girls, bro. Right? Because there's been many times where like I'll start talking to them now, and they'll be like, well, you always said this. And I'll be like, oh, fuck, I did say that. Oh, why did you say that like that, bro? You know what I'm saying?
And of course, they remember everything you don't want them to remember, right?
So I'd be like, fuck, okay, hold on. So I got to do the math in my head. Like, all right, how do I not sound so contradictory now or sound like a punk now? And make them understand, like, one, you got a different person now. This person is a lot more aware of his surroundings, where he's living.
Right.
He's a lot more conscious, right? He's not fucking on drugs like he used to be, right? This person he can like see everything 3D now, right?
Right.
So that's my challenge. It's gotten better. It's gotten so better, but like, now like I'm telling my girls, it's okay to feel a certain way, it's okay to cry, right?
It's okay to feel any way.
It's okay, but like my main thing that I try to drag on is like the world doesn't give a shit if you're sad.
Right.
Right? Right? At some point, you have to get out of your bed and you have to get your ass up and you have to take that foot forward outside and go to work.
Right.
Because the sun's going to come up tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's going to go down. And then it's going to come back up with or without your ass here. So you can spend many moons locked up in your room. What is that going to do for you? Not a damn thing, bro. Not a damn thing. So and I tell them, like everyone else, we all, like myself, we all have to find a way to fight through it.
Right.
Right? There's no poor me or sorry me or excuse me or none of that, dude. At some way, it's okay to take a day, take a day off. It's okay for that, bleed a little bit. Let that shit come out. Cry, whatever it is. And then at some point you take a shower, you look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? And this is what I always tell my girls, the I ams. And I believe it. Like every morning I wake up, I look at the mirror and I tell little Camila, and we look at the mirror together, I am strong. I am bold. I am wise. I am intelligent. I am beautiful. I'm a leader. I am kind, right? And we go through that, and I make her scream it out in the mirror with me, bro, right? Because I really believe, bro, if you're looking at yourself and you're saying it, there's just a God inside of you that believes it, bro, and then that you're pouring that positive water inside that tree that we all are, and every tree that we are, we're growing,
right?
And we only limit ourselves from growing by not pouring back into ourselves. And for many years, I didn't pour back into myself, bro. And if anything, I poured out to everybody. I was giving this energy away, right? And I was giving so much energy away. I was so worried about everybody around me that it made me sick, right?
Right.
I wanted everybody around me to be happy and to be glad with themselves, where I started like pouring too much, where I wasn't giving enough back. And it made me so sick to the point where I thought the best solution was to leave this earth, right? And I know now that it's important, man, like for us to sit back, bleed up, take those licks, cry a little bit, dust yourself off, take a shower, and then get back to work the next day, right? And a lot of people, like my biggest problem is you hear like, oh, so-and-so's depressed. We all go through it, but depressed for a week, depressed for 2 weeks, a month, a year, that's a problem, dude.
That is a big problem.
That's a huge problem, especially if you're a man in this industry and what we're living in right now. Like if you have a family, you got to get up and provide. Because if you're not providing, you're not just hurting yourself, but you're hurting your whole circle around you, bro.
And oftentimes your generations that you don't know what you're doing.
100%, bro. 100%.
But at the end of the day, even if it's just you, if you don't have anybody to provide, like it's just me, single, I'm a young adult. Life is too short and too beautiful for you to be like, you can still feel like shit and go out there.
And still it makes shit happen, bro.
Make shit happen. And guess what? the more positivity you keep putting out there, the better you're gonna feel.
Yeah.
You just keep working on your goals, keep working on your mental state, and you'll get better.
Yeah.
Even when it seems like the world is conspiring against you,
Yeah.
the reality is that
Nobody gives a shit.
nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Hey, the one thing my coach told me, he said 80% of the people don't care about your problems, and the other 20% of the people are happy you have those problems.
Oh yeah,
Mr. Garcia, get your ass up and keep moving.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, the reality is that, you know, as grim as it is, it's like if you died tomorrow, and in a week, most people are gonna forget about you. In a month, even the close ones to you are not gonna be thinking about you that often.
Just your wife
in
and
a
kids.
year, it's gonna be less and less. So enjoy the time you have here. It's worth it, even if it seems grim.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this: so, how do you think?
Let's go, baby.
How do you think is effective? You know, and I know you're saying, you know, you're getting better, and you're growing a better, being a better father, and having better things to teach your children. But how has it affected you to grow up without a father? Because
you know, man,
you didn't have that example, right?
Right.
So
I honestly, bro, that for the Souls podcast, I may ask me that question, and honestly, bro, it was hard. It was hard, but God, I think honestly, bro, like now that I can look back at it, I'm very grateful that God had put certain male figures in my life that I was able to take. I was wise enough to take little tidbits from. I was smart enough to shut up and to actually listen to what they were telling me, right? If I had the father that I got to meet very recently, if I had him every day in my life, I think I would have grown up to be a coward like him, right? So I think, you know, like I went through a lot as a child, bro. And for many years, I used to hold that anger inside and resentment and stress and embarrassment, insecurity, confusion, you know, fucking just bitterness inside me, bro, for years. But I look back at it now, you know, like it's a verse, I forgot which one it was, but God says, you may not know it now, but soon you'll know basically why. And I understand the amount of power and the experience I have now. So one great thing that happened for me, bro, is I was working at the commissary, Naval Street Commissary Station, 32nd Street, and I worked with a bunch of veterans, ex-military, all branches, Marines, Air Force, Navy, Army, freaking Green Berets,
Wow.
fucking Rangers, right? And initially, I was very like, I didn't know who these guys were.
Right.
But as I started working there when I was like 13, right? And then 14, then all of a sudden Danny came around, right? And I convinced the people that I needed to work more hours. So I had to lie and say I was 18 to be able to work overnight because I was going to school, going to football practice, going home to Danny for an hour, and then going to work.
And how old were you?
I was like 15, 16, 17, 18.
Wow.
For 4 years I did this, bro.
Wow.
So, but anyway, so like I think after my second year, right, I finally started to ask questions about fatherhood to a lot of these guys. So they would have lunch like at 11 o'clock at night, right? That was their lunchtime.
Right.
So, and it wasn't my lunchtime. I would just hop in there because I just wanted to be around men. And dude, I would ask each and every one of them questions. Hey, man, I have a son here. You know, they would tell me like their stories, their experiences. So I'll never forget this. I was going to graduate high school and I was at a crossroads. What do? I want to provide for my son, but I want to be in his life. I want him to know me and I want to know him. And what I mean by that is I want to build a relationship with him every day.
Right.
Right? So I went to the guys at lunch at 11 o'clock at night and I told them I want to go to the military, right? But if I go to the military, I'm not going to really build a relationship with him.
Right.
Right. So some of them were like yeah, fucking military, hoorah, whatever. And then some of them were like, think about it, boy, you know, I mean, you're very young, he's young, and you never really had a dad. So if you go to the military, you're not going to be able to spend a lot of time with him because depending on what branch you go to, some of them take off for months and months and months, sometimes years at a time, and you only talk to him on the computer or on the phone now.
Right.
Right? So I remember thinking about that. Okay, then fast forward, graduated comes. You know what I mean? I'm like a week out of school. I go take the test. I made a decision to join the Marines. So I take the test. And, you know, I was like, oh, man. They're like, so, you know, what do you want to do? And I froze up. And the best thing that my brother ever told me was, whether if you go to the Army or the Marines, man, like if you want to go to the Marines, they spend a lot more time away from their family. Right. So if you're going to go to the military, I'm not, because he was in the military, he was in the Army. I'm not biased. But if you're going to do it, go with the Army because they spend not as much time away from their family.
Right.
Right. But he's all, if you want to be there for your son, stay away from the military. You're not going to build the relationship you want to build with him. Right. And I remember that, bro. That was like, it's as crazy as it is. It's so funny, bro. The guy that we do work for, a maintenance guy, he and I had our kids at the same age, almost the same year, right? And I told him my story. He told me his story. And he's like, dude, I did the opposite. I left to the military. I had 3 more kids. I got a divorce and I don't even talk to my kids. They don't even want to talk to me because I spent so much time in the military.
Right.
I did 20 years in the service.
It's a huge sacrifice.
Right? So to me, it was like, damn, that's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Because that, I was gonna, anybody knows me, if I'm in, I'm all the way in, bro. We're gonna, if I'm gonna do something, I want to do it to the max.
Right.
So at that time, I was like, if I go, I'm gonna go for 20 years. I'm gonna climb to the highest pinnacle part of the military that I possibly can and be the best leader possible, right? And it was crazy talking to him, bro. Like I almost started crying because I remember I was like this close to making the decision to take off to the military. And I'm not saying that Danny and I have the best relationship, but we have a great relationship. I had him everywhere with me in school. He would go to my practices. He would go to the gym with me, right? I would take him everywhere with me. Halloween, freaking. The dude was always with me, bro. There would be times at night where the kid wouldn't sleep. So me and my friend would hop into my minivan and we would drive for hours. And then we'd come back, he'd be asleep. I'd take him to the room and he'd fall asleep, bro. I mean, he was my dude, bro. But I know I kind of went away on a long U-turn here, bro. But I've come a long way, man. And it's very hard, like to this day, bro, not giving advice to my kids, always based on my parallel universe that I grew up in.
Right.
And having to realize, damn, I'm a what do you call these? Like a suburban dad.
Right.
Suburban dad from the hood trying to raise these suburban kids with ghetto mentalities. And I'm like trying to take that shit out of them, dude. Yeah. Like, no, we don't need to think like that, bro. Yeah, let's undo some of that. You know what I mean?
Because, I think there is some things they should always...
yeah, bro. Cheers,
like,
brother.
You don't want to have with no street smarts at all. Yeah. Cheers. I think the way you put it about your dad is such a great putting it, because you can always focus on like, well, I didn't have my dad.
Yeah.
Right? But, and obviously it depends, right? But typically in the situation, if he wasn't around, it's not necessarily because he was a great person. I mean, obviously.
Well, I don't mean to cut you off, but that's the point I was trying to make.
Right.
Is as I was going through my healing, after my recovery, part of trying to find him was that little kid that would stay in the front door, like telling myself, one day he's going to come.
Right.
one day he's going to come, he's going to rescue me, and he's going to take me out of here, and I'm never going to see this neighborhood again, right? There was always that little kid that was always left inside of me, right? And what was crazy is when I found him, the little kid inside here was still like expecting like, this grand music coming from the heavens and a door opening, right? And we're gonna have this, oh, what's up, Dad? Like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, and it was the opposite of that shit, bro.
Yeah.
Right? I'm obviously at the time I was 41 years old, 40 years old, right? I'm coming at tail end of my recovery. And don't get me wrong, I'm wise, but I was becoming more wiser and more aware.
Right.
And just having this dialogue with this dude, right? And then the first thing the dude tells me is, I need money, send it to me. And as soon as that was said, like, that was the greatest thing that happened to me, though.
Right.
Let me tell you why, bro. Because that little kid, that little part of that little kid that was left in me left.
It healed.
It healed.
Right.
It was weird, bro. Like, this little piece of stress of wondering, like, who is he? What is he? Where is he? How does he look like? Did he have more kids? Did he ever care about me? Did he ever wonder about me? Did he ever come look for me? All those questions, all those concerns, all those feelings throughout the years just vanished. Like, I literally felt my shoulders go. Like, now, he follows me on Facebook and all that stuff. I keep him at bay, right? I'm glad he's doing good. He's doing well. He's got other kids, but as far as trying to be cool with him, that part, that little opportunity that he had disappeared, bro.
Well, even though my dad was in my life for short periods at a time, it's similar situation, and I often told him, because I tried to have relationships with him many times, and I love him. I love my dad, and I don't wish him anything bad. I actually want him to do well, but I often every time we got into some sort of argument, there was I always just tell him this. It's like, listen, you were not there when I was a kid. You were not there when I needed you.
Yeah.
I don't need a father anymore.
Yeah, it's too late for that, bro.
I'll take a friend.
Yeah.
You want to be my friend? Be my friend. But that is earned.
Yeah.
It's not given.
100%, bro.
You don't.
That's a good point. Yeah,
right.
That's a good point.
You don't get to just say, here I am, and I'm this man in your life now, especially our age, and I'm sure I'm gonna feel a certain way as I get older, but the people in my life that I have more and more are selected. I used to want to have thousands of friends.
Yeah.
And just like, now the quality of those people that are around me is more important than the quantity.
As we get older, right?
Yeah.
Ain't that a trip? Hell yeah.
And that goes for everything, right? From friendships to family to everything. Listen, there's a lot of people that I love.
Straight up, brother.
But we just grew up apart, and
straight up.
If I am not making your life better and you're not making my life better,
what are we doing here?
And even more, if you're making my life
worse.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I have a limited amount of time. I used to, and again, I'm only 40. I can't imagine what I'm going to feel when I'm 80. but
less patient, bro.
but how do you, when I was 15, it's like, I have all the time in the world.
100%.
And more, I'm like, I don't have time and I don't want to waste it.
Yeah.
So,
you understand how valuable it is, bro. How valuable it is.
And people sometimes think it's like, well, you're angry. No, I'm not angry. So, right now,
I have choices.
I just have choices, and I know how I want to spend my time that I have here. And so, do 100%. I want to spend it with drama, or do I want to spend it doing positive things with the people I love? and having positive experiences with my kids, with my wife, with my friends.
Hence the roots of ambition.
Yes. And so that is but for the longest time I used to always kind of, I don't know, it affected me a little bit about being a dad, because I had this thing that like, well, how are you going to know how to do it? Your dad was never around. Like it was,
got you.
It was this self-doubt in my head. And I'll be, honest, I mean, for many, many years until
that was replay in your head.
Replaying, and then I've tried to have a relationship with him many times.
Yeah.
And same thing is like, it only goes well when I'm compromising my integrity.
Yeah.
And, when I'm the one giving and I'm willing to like be flexible and listen, every relationship is somewhat like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, we all got to give a little bit, but it should never be to the point where you're compromising yourself.
No.
Or you holding back. And whether you're my friend, my family, whatever, if you're in my circle and the only way we can have a relationship is by me holding back and having to bite my tongue,
oof,
I don't want that relationship. Right?
No, not at all. Again, I know I said it earlier, but we need to have one of those buttons where it goes ding, 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 ding. That's a PowerPoint, bro.
Because, and then the other thing is, and as I'm, starting to get a little more successful financially, oftentimes it's like, instead of being happy for me, and he never said anything specifically, but it always made me feel like, what about me? And it's like, wait, shouldn't you be happy for me first?
100%. Yeah.
Like, because listen, you know me. Yeah. I'm the type of person that if you're in my circle and you're the same way, and I love you, like I want to share everything I have, right? Like I
want us to all bite into this watermelon, bro.
Right. Yeah. But when I'm having success and the first thing is,
what about me?
Where's my piece of cake?
Where's my money at?
And it used to make me feel bad. This is the worst part. It used to make me feel like,
well, that's part of the narcissism.
Like, why are you such an ass? Like, why you can do it? Why can't you just, send some money?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. And so,
especially if you weren't there in my life and you watched the struggle, bro, and you didn't help.
And listen, there was a lot of struggles that I could have used a couple bucks. I could have used a shoulder. And the reality is that for me, the few times he was around, and don't get me wrong, it's not all bad. There's some good experiences, but it was very short-lived when he was in my life, and a lot of bad experiences that I'm dealing to this day to try to just work out. Like, I remember this one time that these two kids were trying to fight me, and I was afraid. I was like 4th grade, I think. I was afraid, and I just put my head down. They punched me in the back of the head, and then they pushed me, and then and that's not how it ended. It didn't go farther than that, but I just walked away all defeated. Well, he was around the corner seeing the whole thing. This was in LA, and I don't know if this was happening in San Diego or not, but when I lived with my aunt, there used to be this like kind of like not U-Haul, but UPS trucks looking like box trucks.
Yeah.
There was like a little tienda.
Yeah, like...
do you guys have those in San Diego?
Yeah, bro. Ice cream trucks, bro.
But it wasn't an ice cream truck. It was like literally like a little grocery store.
Parked somewhere?
It will go like into neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And it would just,
we call them ice cream trucks, bro.
Okay, well...
Yeah. Same shit.
So it was one of those, and he was around the corner. He didn't intervene. And then he reprimanded me. If I ever see you be a pussy again, I'm going to beat your ass so you know what.
See, that's the shit I'm talking about. Yeah.
And it's just like, it put this weight on me that it took so many years for me to get off, get that feeling off and not transfer that over to my kids. So, But another thing that a question that came up earlier when you were talking about your kids, and you were talking about the military and spending time. So now fast forward to Danny that is in a better place and is super successful, and you're busier than a motherfucker, right? Like, I mean, it's like you're on the phone, you're doing this, you're that, delivering their own parts to the
I gotta tell that story,
so
bro.
the how do you balance, or what do you do to balance your time so that you are continue to be successful and you are pushing those ambitions forward, but not taking away from being there for your kids, right? Like, how do you balance that?
That's hard. It's hard, bro. Damn, that's a very good question, bro. Well, I'll be honest with you, brother. Oh man, how can I put it into good words? Well, the first thing that I knew I had to do was move my sister in with us, right? My sister was in a good situation, and I had the means, Michelle and I had the means to retire her and move her into the house with us. Because my vision, my heart, and the direction that we're going for this family, it's going to take away a lot of my time from my kids. So I wanted to put an extra body inside the house that was going to help. I know it's not me 100%, but it was going to be an additional body that gives Camila a lot more time one-on-one. However, I still make time to go to softball practices with her, some of the jiu-jitsu classes. I'm coaching part-time with them. And one thing that I do is, like, if I'm at the field, if I'm coaching, I really try to not touch my phone. I'm going to give this team, my kids, a full undivided hour of energy of my time, right? Same thing with my daughters, Carly and Bella. I know that the reality is, bro, we have this amount of time at the beginning of the day, but after everything is all said and done, we have about this much time.
Right.
I forgot who I heard it from, but it's one thing that I practice is the quality of the time that I have with my kids is the most important thing to me, whether if it's 5 minutes or 2 hours. I make sure that it's 100% dedicated to them. I'm looking at them. I'm with them. I'm in the ground with them. I'm with them. I physically see them. I'm understanding what they're saying, what they're going through. I do that with both my daughters. I'm working on that with my son. He's a grown man now. He's got his own house. He works with us. But the quality of time is the one thing that I focus on with my kids. Now, when it comes over to my wife, she's my right-hand man. She's my business partner. She's my ace. She's the only person in the world that really knows who I am, 100%. She's the one that pulls the curtain, right? If I'm bucket naked, it don't matter. She knows from top to down, from top of my head down to the bottom of my toe, how many moles I got all over my ass, right? She knows if I'm woke up on the wrong side, the bad side, the good side, or the ugly side. She knows how to talk to me. She knows how to give me my time. She knows that if I walk outside and if I'm smoking a cigar and the TV's not on, nobody go outside, right? I need at least an hour to decompress because what I'm trying to do, Angel, and a lot of people know this, is I'm really trying to change the course of my bloodline. And what I mean by that is generational wealth. Right? Because I'm not doing this for myself anymore. If I was selfish, I could tell my kids to kiss my ass and grab Mama and Camila and move to Mexico for the rest of our lives, and we're good.
And party for the rest
of our lives.
Right.
I'll be able to give Camila the best education in Mexico.
Yeah.
Not have to worry about shit. But because I'm not selfish, because that's not what I want. I want to be able to provide them with everything here, but not just them, but their kids. Be able to pay for college tuitions, be able to help them invest in their own businesses pretty soon, help them invest in their own homes pretty soon, right? And prepare for their kids. And hopefully one day I get to sell my businesses and I get to help them create their businesses.
Right.
Right? And then continue that in our bloodline for the rest of our lives. Right? So to the answer to the question in a nutshell, bro, it's the quality of time that I give each one of my kids and my wife.
The quality of time. That's
Quality,
such a beautiful answer.
Quality,
and I think
man.
oftentimes that's easy to forget,
Yeah.
right? Because you can spend half a day with your kids, but if it's not quality,
Right.
if you're doing this and we can all fall into it if we don't think about it, we're not conscious about it.
100%, bro.
But more and more, just like you, as I get busier, I'm like, I think about like, wait, I have to spend actual good quality time with my kids. Erin and I do day nights with the kids. So she takes one, I take the other one, and we just swap so that they have individual time with each one of us. And they love it. I love it. And because we get to actually, and it's interesting because you get to see another side of them, because sometimes when they're together, they're, competing for time and whatnot. So okay, what's in your head? And I try during those times to just listen instead of just,
bro,
bickering or try to give them advice, even though sometimes that's the right time. But oftentimes it's like, what's in your head? What I've been trying to think different on how I give them advice sometimes by asking them for advice on the thing I want to give them advice on, right? Because oftentimes what I want to say comes out of their mouth. They might just not be acting on it. And so I was like, okay, and then let's work through it.
100%.
Like they all, because that if they already get it, then it's an easier lift to get us there. And then oftentimes what I was about to say, it's not as good as what they just told me. And I was like, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Shit. You're right about that. So I got a question for you, bro. It's one that it was actually brought up to me. A couple just started their business and they're working together.
Okay.
Right. I'm not gonna say no names. I promise I'm not saying no names. But if you're hearing this, then you know who I'm talking about. But it's a great question, by the way. I have to say, because it's one that it reminds me of what I need to do more of. I know what I've been practicing on, but I'm going to ask you because you might be able to share the same light, or we can kind of submerge or connect both of our thoughts together. But I'll let you start. This couple is starting a new business together. They were having a lot of issues. Well, they're having and still having a lot of issues, and they're working on it. Right, where they're butting heads and they're submersed. They're just to their eyeballs in work, right? They wake up, they work, they go to sleep, they work. They don't even have lunch together because one person is handling this, or they don't have breakfast because one person has to get to a job site, right? Or they had dinner planned, but then something comes up. And business is business, man. Sometimes that's part of being an entrepreneur is sometimes you have to stop and wipe everything off your table and pivot the other way and say, I'm sorry. So, not that you guys have a business like that, but what do you do to value and to keep the relationship strong between you and Erin, right? Because I know that there might be times where you wake up Monday and all of a sudden it's Sunday and you guys didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
Right? So to make up for that week that you guys didn't have a lot of fun with each other, right? Whether it be lunch or breakfast or dinner or date night, whatever. What is it you try to do to keep that energy going?
I think first of all, I can always do better. And honestly, for a while, without realizing, we were just grinding and making that time to have this date nights with the kids and stuff. Yeah. And we were kind of forgetting about ourselves.
Yeah. Like always, bro.
But and we've had conversations, and we truly believe this is like, we can't be the as good of a parents if we're not good. If we're not, so it's like you kind of have to be a little selfish, right? Take care of yourself first,
Yeah.
and take care of you and your spouse. Like,
It's like they say on the airplane.
oftentimes it's like, okay, well, my kids first, and then my spouse, and then me. That's actually not the way it should go. It should go
100%.
myself first, then my spouse, then my kids. Sorry, kids, you guys are at the end, but we could not be good parents.
Fuck them kids.
I could not be a good father if I'm not taking care of myself.
That's true.
And so we're trying to do better of the dates. We are not that great at that, and to be honest, even though we do a lot of things together, we're trying to be more proactive about it and actually just putting something in the books. And oftentimes, as you know me, I'm an overthinker. Aaron's also an overthinker. So like we think like big. So we're trying like, okay, well, it can be small.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this elaborate thing, because then you're already busy, and then you're trying to plan this elaborate day night,
and you get overwhelmed,
and then you just don't do it.
Then you don't do it.
And so we do little things like, if she's like, hey, you have time for coffee, and I was like, I got 30 minutes. We'll go have a quick little coffee, or hey, what you got going on for lunch? Something should be out in the office.
Yeah.
Can we do lunch today? So we'll meet up somewhere and have a little lunch. But the other thing is, we do jujitsu together, and that,
that's huge, bro.
We've been doing it for about a year and a half now.
Right
and honestly, I kept pushing and pushing, like we should do it. And it's like, listen, I'm going to start whether you want to start or not. But I really wanted her to do it just because I thought it was going to be, first of all, I did it because I wanted to, that's a sport that my kids do, and I wanted to understand it better.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
which better way than to do it yourself? Huh?
Also, I want my kids to see me struggle.
Right on.
Because I feel that that's very important, It's like for you, Camila is never gonna know the Danny from 20 years ago that was struggling, the Debo so.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just like,
True.
She's gonna see, the starting point that you have now, which is you're in a really good position. And so with that same in mind, in my case, it's like, okay, my kids never really seen like the real grind, like before I had kids, where like I came home, fucking covering shit, and like, it was Christmas, and I was on call, and literally in the middle of Christmas dinner, I had to take off and go and clog somebody's toilet.
Yeah.
Those different things. So I want them to see me struggle, but I diverse. So to go back to the point with me and Aaron. So, and it turned out that started actually connecting us, because there's something now that we do together. And then we're passionate about together.
Yeah.
So even though sometimes we might not actually do the actual act of doing the jiu-jitsu together, because we have different partners. Sometimes we go together and I love it. She doesn't. She gets super aggressive and competitive with me.
I can see it,
but we have this passion together that kind of helps us connect. We also started going to the gym together, so we'll go and it's good because obviously it's good to have those day nights, to have those relaxed times, but also like we went to the gym 2 days ago, and we were working on legs so bad. I mean, my legs are still just killing me. And it was a real struggle. Both me and her were like dying. But it's like a connection that we're like, we're going to push through this. Like, do we have 30 minutes left? It's 1 hour session, right? So that, even though we didn't do it with that purpose in mind, it has helped us connect. And then oftentimes when we're just super busy, like we'll get up at 6 a.m, we'll go sit outside, drink a cup of coffee or two, and just chill and just talk about just whatever, just be Aaron and Angel.
Yeah.
And that helps us, and so we're trying to find little moments. We love to sit outside. Sometimes it's 11 o'clock. Our neighbors probably think we're weird because they all have 2-story houses. We're the only single story, so I'm sure everybody looks down. And so we have these 2 recliners, and we love just staring at the sky. Yeah. So we'll be there, and we'll just be looking up, and then we're just having conversations. There's no phone. We're just in the dark.
Yeah.
And so those little moments, doing them and more
Quality
being
time,
more
bro.
aware
Quality time.
is what kind of helps us kind of go through those days. And then also communicating is because there's times where I'm like, hey, dude, I need some time with you. Like, we need to go eat somewhere. We need to go out to dinner. And she might tell me the same way, like, hey, we just been grinding and grinding and grinding. Like, can we spend some time together? Because there's times where we get up, 6 a.m.
Yeah,
and then
bro. Like you wake up one day, Monday, next day it's Sunday.
11 o'clock at night, and she hasn't sat down all day. I haven't sat down all day. We barely said any word to each other, and so on those days we make a point to be like, hey, tomorrow we have to spend a little time together. We have to make an effort, but it's a struggle every day. It's a gamble as we add new things. Even with this new thing, this podcast, which is all kinds of fun, but it comes with its time, right?
Yeah, bro.
Everything you said earlier. You only have this amount of time, so you're choosing. If you're doing this, you're not doing something else.
Exactly.
That's just the reality.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. I hope she's not mad at me.
No.
Not
at all.
We're gonna have fun with this, dude. I think it's good time to wrap it up.
Yeah, I think so.
What do you say, bro? Good time. Do a little bones out there. Everybody, again, thank you guys for tuning in. Roots of Ambition. You guys just got a little bit of a taste of what is to come. Hey, and everybody that signed up and is getting ready to come onto the show, you already kind of see our vibe and what we're doing, what we're talking about. I mean, we want to hear about your business. We want to hear about all that, but we want to know about you. We want to know about your struggle, your story, your ambition, your root of ambition. What it started with, how it started, where it's coming from.
Yep.
So to end this, Danny and Angel, Roots of Ambition, we want to thank you guys for the opportunity that you spent with us. I hope that we shared some stories with you guys that you guys can take or pass down to your children, your nephews, your cousins, your uncles, whoever it is. We're here to help. Last but not least, think positive and positive things happen. One love. I'm out.
Follow us on social media. It really helps if you guys subscribe. It helps us with the algorithm. Please like the videos.
Share.
Even if you don't like the video, please like it. It really, really helps us. And if you can make a comment, even if it's just hi or a small little comment, it really helps us. And it also motivates us to keep doing these.
That's right.
This is new to us. So all the positive feedback and comments that we can get back, that will be greatly appreciated. So stay tuned. Roots of Ambition.
Let's go, baby.